because it is from 2015. 2025, I'm pretty sure you would have a hard time finding the actual number, because the actual number of black people with any conviction or any criminal record went down so much that it's almost non-countable. How exactly would you do those numbers?
Right. So maybe you're right, but the idea that within a decade, like the entirety of black people in America are supposed to just kind of like improve their life and, you know, stop, like, because I'm sure you'll agree with me, if you live in a more difficult situation, these things are more likely to happen, right? It's like redlining and all these things. So like black people are just supposed to like get over it and catch up to the rest of society within 10 years. And that's silly, like, yeah, but that's not true. That's obviously not going to happen. No group in any country like recovers within a decade like that. Especially not when it's 400 years of slavery and like redlining and a bunch of discrimination.
But John, the group of blacks, the Negro generation of blacks that actually were neck deep in the redlining and the Jim Crow and the slavery and all that, they're doing that now. Yeah, they have better stats than the people that are in this generation, Charles. So there's no excuse. That's no excuse.
Like
way better stats.
The average black person that was a child in racism today is above $78,000 a year. Above. Not below, not making it, not just getting there. Above. The income for the people you're describing, for the people that you said even were close, because many of those people are old now, so it doesn't even matter. The ones that you're describing did face some discrimination. You're talking about 57 or older. Those people are above the income of 78 grand. 78 grand is the bare minimum most of them make. Most of them. And then above 80% above it. So the argument just does not exist. They have way drastically improved, way past anything they could probably think of back then. So no, you can't use the argument of still downtrodden, still oppressed, still this, still that. When in 10 years, the only population that is kind of underneath the conditions in bell curve is a population that just got out of high school 4 years ago, which is normal because all of them are in that boat. So no, you can't use slavery, redlining, and everything else, because when you do the actual numbers, not per capita, over 80% of them make above 78K a year. So you can't even use that argument anymore.
Yeah, I can't use that argument, and I did.
Yeah, John, so I linked the 2019 Table 43 from the United States FBI. So,
2019?
2019, yeah, 2019.
Yeah, okay, well, that's 6 years old, so may as well throw that in the garbage too, right?
Well, they're pretty consistent across the board. That's the first one I clicked on, but I'll grab
that's 4 years. That's 4 years newer than the statistic Isaac just told me we can't use because 10 years is too old.
Okay, well, let me find another one. But these things.
I actually agree with. I'm not denying the statistics thing. I was just making the point that like 6 years, 10 years, not a big difference. But go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, in this case here, murder and non-negligent manslaughter, whites committed 3,650 of these crimes, while blacks 4,078. For robbery, whites were at 25,000, blacks were at 29,000. All right, so that's abysmal for 13% of the population, and it's really lower than that. I'd say probably around 5%, give or take a point or two, because it's mostly young black men that are committing these crimes. So you're talking about 5% of the population is overtaken the white population, which you know, blacks pale in comparison.
12.2% of the population. I don't know why you're saying 5. It's 12 points. Black people make up 12.2% of the population.
Yeah, but listen to what I said. Black women ain't commit these crimes. Black children ain't commit these crimes. Black elderly, it's younger black men. So you drop that down to about 5%.
It's the same thing for white people. Right? It's white men committing the majority of the crimes, so you could say the same thing.
White men commit the majority of the crimes?
There's way more white men than black men, than young black men. There's way more younger white men than there are black population overshadowing the white population when it comes to certain crimes. Now, if you go down the list, there's other crimes. Yes, raw numbers, white people dominate. But if you look at the differences between the whites and the blacks, most of these we're meeting them at about 50%. So most of these, if white people did it 200,000 times, we're right there at 100,000 times. If whites did it at 100,000 times, we're right there close to 50,000 times we did it. There's no way we should be 50% of what whites are doing. We should be.
But it's systemic racial oppression.
We should be about 5% of what whites are doing.
You should be like I find you're saying it a bit weird. Maybe you're saying the same thing, but you should be proportional to your population, right? If black people are 12.2% of the population, logically they should produce 12.2% of the crime. I'm not denying your numbers. I just think they're a lot more complicated than some people hate them. I think that there are reasons that black people are committing more crimes in America other than they're black. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're poor, right? I think if you just looked at the same crime statistics and said, do poor people commit more crimes than rich people? Absolutely, 100%. And it's not even just that. The other statistic that I think is important to look at is, and this one exists, I can look it up, is the average punishment for, like, if you have more money, your punishments will be less severe. You're less likely to be found of a crime and you're more likely to get off. So again, like, these statistics are skewed by these factors, right? I'm not denying the numbers you're talking. I'm just saying, if black people are less rich, then they're more likely to be found guilty, they're more likely to get caught, they're more likely to get severe punishments because they don't have as good defense.
Great, Jarl, we get it.
There are statistics.
So, Jarl, if you were the president, Jarl, what would you do? What would you do for we the people, Jarl, if you were in charge?
Well, I'd stop talking about white replacement theory as if it's a real thing. That's the first thing.
Beautiful. So here's the actual problem. The poorest people in this country is
Beautiful.
contrary to the numbers, not black Americans. The poorest group in this country is still Native Americans. Now, for all the issues Native Americans have, a high murder rate is not one of them. A high assault rate is one of them, but a high murder rate is not one of them. So, if your argument was accurate, they should have killed themselves and climbed themselves out of existence. Yet, they don't. And then if you go to the next poorest group, guess who it is?
Hispanic.
No, not Hispanic.
I actually like your example. No, but wait, let's stick to the native example. Okay.
No. There's a reason I'm saying this. The next poorest group in America,
White.
whites, working Americans, they are still at the bottom. Now they have a large avenue of income from 16,000 all the way up to 172,000. But for some reason, it's a wide breadth of income you can go to. But the poorest are between the 10,000 to 23,000. That's where the vast entirety of white or impoverished Americans are. And despite that, the highest crimes that they have is alcoholism, drug use, and domestic violence. Theft, murder rate, and things like that, it's nowhere near the same level as black Americans. It's not even close. You can go to these areas individually. You will have the things I just mentioned happening normally. But murders, theft, things like that, maybe every once or maybe every 5 times in a year that'll happen. Maybe. And I've lived in these places. I've been to them.
Isaac, didn't you hear what Jarl said? If he was in charge, the first thing he would do for we the people is get all of Americans to stop talking about white replacement theory. That's the type of plan that Jarl has for we the people. It's really very inclusive and extremely exciting.
The putting words in my mouth. I'm saying as the president, I would stop. The president should stop spewing conspiracy theories like
Yeah, that's what you would do. It's such an incredible plan, Jarl. Like, you will save America with that plan. It's really exciting, Jarl. Congratulations.
That does go against the First Amendment because you can't say what you want as long as it's not saying terrorism.
As the president, I would choose not to promote conspiracy theories. I wouldn't censor other people. Jesus Christ, guys.
Hey, real quick before I lose you guys, Isaac, I just want to say, I think the big differential between poor whites and poor blacks, though, when it comes to violent crime rate, is because most poor whites live in sparsely populated areas, more rural, and most poor blacks live in inner city, and so you're gonna have like more density and more opportunity for people.
No, I agree with that. And
Jarl, I got you, Jarl.
it still doesn't explain why, okay, you go to areas where there are still large amounts of white people, and they are still not at a comparable income level. They're actually kind of trapped in place because of their income level. You actually have less crime. Take a place like upstate Georgia. Upstate Georgia is not rich. Anyone can tell you that. Not even close. They are anywhere between 52 to maybe 46,000 a year. Despite that, they don't have insane crime rates, and they do have large towns. They don't have small towns or derelict, used to be mining places. No, these are large, sizable towns of close to 500 to maybe a little bit over 600,000 people. Still have violent crimes. While you go to a black area of a comparative size, it's a toss-up. Some don't, some do. And that's kind of what I mean when I say, even when you get into the income and the comparable population densities, you still do not have the insane level of crime.
Well, it's the white replacement theory that Jarl is suggesting. If these people didn't believe in white replacement theory, they wouldn't be self-destructive, right, Jarl?
I just think it's playing victim. But just really quick, Isaac, to respond to your point, you're wrong on one point. The black community is 36.4 of the population. I'll just say the rates. Black people commit violent crimes at 2.9 times their per capita, let's put it that way. Whites at almost 1.0, Asians at 0.28. But if we look at American Indian, it's 3.3 times the rate, which is higher than black people. If we look at Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders, it's 3.0, which is 0.1% higher than blacks. So again, like, I don't know why you said blacks were so much higher, because they're lower than natives and Hawaiians.
I said in the beginning that indigenous populations have a higher assault rate. I did say that. They have a higher assault rate than anyone. That is what I was saying. Higher rates of assault. But when you actually start studying the kind of crimes they commit, murder is usually not one of them. Higher rates of assault, yes. They do fight each other and put each other in the hospital by a lot. But it's not death. It's not shot. It's not grievous harm or injury. It's like one got cut, one did a fight. That's kind of what they're doing. That's their violent crime. You go to black areas, yes. A lot of the crimes are murders. That's a very big difference.
Maybe, and this is extremely semantic, so I apologize, but we should be saying found guilty of crimes, because just because somebody was found guilty of a crime doesn't mean they committed a crime, right? Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, that should be, I would agree with that. That will definitely be a fair point. But, I don't think it's, I don't know, man. I'm willing to bet, and again, I will concede to your point. I will acknowledge that point. It's a fair point, Jarl. But I'm willing, if I was a bet man, Jarl, I don't think it's that far off, man. I really don't. I really don't.
Per capita, African Americans commit 10x the number of crimes of white people. It's not 3 times, it's 10 times. That's the real statistic.
You see how you can because it's 3 times the
I don't think I can explain statistics to somebody who thinks that their first priority as the leader of America is to abolish the conspiracy that white people are being replaced. If that's your game plan, there's no point in arguing with you, Charles. You're just a moose head from Canada. You're nothing but a moose. You hear me, moose?
He's talking about the two total counts, which would be 10 times the amount you would count it all. But you're right about the 2.9 rate. The rate is 2.9. The total count, he is correct. When you accumulate it all together, is 10 times.
Sorry, so go ahead.
Woo!
Breakdown here. So non-Hispanic whites, according to the 2025 census, represent about 60% of the country. And that's about on par with the percentages of arrests for crimes, according to the FBI. At about, looks like here, probably about 50 to 60%. A little bit higher than that, actually. I'd probably give a little bit of grace, a little bit higher than that. Hispanics are about 20% of the population. They're right on par, about 20%, 19% or so. Blacks make up 12.6% of the population. They're on par for about 26.6% of crimes committed. It says other races, it gave a 4%, but Asian, mixed breed people, American Indian, Alaskan, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders. So Asian is saying 6.7% of the population. Plus that's 8-9%, 2.5 for mixed people. So that's about 9%, and then 0.7 and 0.2. So you're talking about 10%. So 10% representation for Asians, mixed people, American Indian or Alaskan Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, and they're represented by 4% of arrests for crimes.
And don't forget, these police departments have been fudging the numbers. When you're black or Hispanic, you're labeled as white, and we all have seen that in the media, and we all know it's true.
And that's these just got fucking busted for fudging their numbers, their crime stat numbers to have it reflect less poorly on blacks. So, I mean, we've seen instances like that. Now, another thing, too, people bring up, to be fair, is that not all states report the data, so we got to take that into consideration as well. But, I mean, from what the information that we do have, it looks like the other races are pretty much on par with their population representation. Blacks literally have the highest representation, disproportionate representation for their race. So, and I know, Jar, you said you acknowledge that, or whatever, but we talk about the reasons why. It's not because they're saying, oh, they commit crime because they're black. There's a huge culture of violence, Jar. Have you ever heard of drill rap or listened to this American rap culture? Have you heard some of the shit that they rap about? And the culture that
they speak in Canada and we don't commit crimes.
What's that?
The music is international and the rest of the world isn't committing crimes because of American rap music.
Well, I'm saying the subgenres, the violence subgenres, those aren't distributed in other countries as much as they are here in the States. Like drill rap. You ever heard of Chicago drill rap?
Of course. We have drill raps here too.
Right, but that type of music, what it promotes, and then you see the areas where it's heavily played and heavily listened to. There's a shit ton of crime in those areas, and the sources that they originate from, Jarl. And then too, your guys' culture isn't as violent either. But then even in the UK, I mean, blacks are having the same issues. They disproportionately represent a lot of the knife crimes and violent crimes over in the UK as well. So they're having the same issues, and that drill rap, which pertains to the black culture over there, it is just as violent. Just as violent as the American culture. So there's a lot of violence that comes from the rap and the hip hop culture, and it does influence a lot of these fucking kids and these younger generations, man.
I'm back. Okay. I just want to say also, what scares me, and Joe can call me a victim or whatever, what makes me feel uncomfortable is that I don't trust. Okay, it's so quick. They're so quick to label it a hate crime if it's there is justification for that. I'll give you one example. Similar crimes. A couple years ago, there was an autistic kid on a subway in Manhattan who was being beaten up by what looks like to be a Hispanic group of teenagers. And they labeled that a hate crime almost immediately. The initial reports, NYPD is investigating hate crime, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward to another example similar. This is what I just told you guys about in North Atlanta High School. Black kid stabbing with scissors in the face, in the eyeball, multiple times. A white autistic kid. Any mention of hate crime? No. Fair?
No.
Mention of the kid's black that's stabbing it, by the way. That's more like that. So everyone else is kind of letting that cat out of the bag, right? Because there's video. But anyway, they don't talk about hate crime. Oh, and by the way, he actually yelled at this kid, "You white bitch." Okay, tell me there's something wrong with this picture. We can't even know what the data is on these random or hate crimes against us.
Holly, don't talk to Jarl to confirm your bias. Holly, Jarl isn't going to confirm your bias. Jarl is a woke, leftist, socialist, communist, Marxist, trans feminist fucking loser. That's what Jarl is, Holly. He's not going to confirm what you're saying.
All right,
What
this is the problem.
The trans feminist fucking loser. He's not going to confirm what you're saying.
Happy Hanukkah, shalom to you all, normal. Happy Hanukkah to all my Jewish brothers and sisters out there.
I want to say to you, Shabbat Shalom. That's the. It's not the Love that. I heard that up here. I think it's short, but yeah, happy Hanukkah.
Anybody can quote Charlie Kirk.
I'm Asian. You gotta wish me a happy New Year, Dragon New Year. So this is the problem, Holly. That has been said since 1962. So I do have to normally don't take the offense of the blacks because I normally think that the blacks in America are a cursed people and they need to be replaced by more efficient blacks from maybe even Polynesia or Melanesia. But the issue is this: the "you white bitch" has been said since the 60s. That's sort of a response due to when the integration happened. And the blacks were integrated with the whites. Of course, all types of shit was said. These nappy-headed Negroes. Am I allowed to say cursing here?
Absolutely.
These 1960s whites said, "You nappy-headed niggers, we don't want you here," blah, 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 right? So that has been a response. It's been a response for about, maybe it's overshot by now because obviously that's not happening anymore. But to your point, if we wanted to calculate that, we would have to then remove whether that was a response to an instigation. And also the problem is this: we do have to factor in that unfortunately the FBI and certain institutions which put the crack in the community, which gave birth to the crack babies, and the crack babies are often the ones who are saying, "Oh, you white bitch," on the New York City subway. I can tell these guys who are my age, who are likely crack children, they're the main ones saying it. So I do have to put some blame on the whites for that because they did flee from New York and they let the degeneration and the urban blight happen for about 30 years. Then they came back and they expected to be welcomed with open arms.
No, you're gonna blame white people?
Yeah, because you can't abandon the entire city.
You're blaming Barry Seal and Bill Clinton. Then is essentially who you're blaming.
No. When Michael Bloomberg started to make it, a little, obviously Giuliani and then Michael Bloomberg made it for, then all the whites came back and they expected things to be as they left it in the 50s. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. So you have to address
of the socioeconomic issues that resulted from a white flight situation. And that may sound like an overcomplication, but that's why in a lot of urban cities you're having the hey white bitch, because these are the children who were left behind in the 80s and 90s due to the war on drugs that has to be addressed.
Well, let me just land real quick, then I'll let somebody else. What I'm saying is, though, fine, call names. That's fair. But when you call a name whilst you stab someone in the eyeball, that becomes a hate crime to me, okay? When you're saying white bitch and you're stabbing me in the eye, let's do the math here. And to avoid labeling that a hate crime is very concerning to me because it makes me wonder how many of these instances are out there that have not been labeled a hate crime. Therefore, myself, and people who look like me, we will never know if we need to keep our head on a swivel or not. We will not have the privilege, like, with all due respect, El Normo or even black folks, of knowing if there is a trend in hate crimes, random hate crimes, for example, that we need to maybe be more aware of. And that makes me feel very uncomfortable in this country.
Holly, are you not paying attention, Holly? You don't need guys like Jarl or Nerd to confirm your suspicion, Holly. You do keep your head on a swivel and you do stay alert. There are low IQ terrorists.
This is a fair point. You should have some type of heads up. I would suggest using the Citizens app and just looking at general crime. You're not going to know, if it's white specific. But to your point about
you can fairly estimate it's going to be black specific, Holly.
I completely agree it should be labeled a hate crime. The issue tends to be there are so many harassers that's literally saying that shit every day out of mental illness. They're also saying, hey, Arabian bitch, hey, Jewish bitch. Like they're saying the spectrum. So a lot of these people are mentally ill. They're crack babies. They're on drugs. The last thing I'll say is this: if there's a broad issue with hate crimes against whites, again, I would implore the whites to ensure that they reinvest in the communities that they're moving to, because again, these communities have been underfunded for 50 years, and now all of a sudden people are moving back in. They want safe school districts, all that. That's not going to happen overnight. You've got to figure out a way to put the funding there so that, there's actually police, security, etc. to get these.
So you mean the property tax has to go up? So homeowners got to pay more to keep themselves safe because the previous political leaders did nothing to stop this epidemic of crack baby drug addicts harassing everybody in the streets. Thank you very little, Nerd.
So I just want to say there are brought any crack into any place. So that's a weird myth that should be debunked at every turn. That's one. Number two, Giuliani and Bloomberg did indeed bring high-income people back into the city and transform the city from being dirty, from broken, to one of the safest cities, certainly of its size, in the world, on the planet. And made New York better in countless ways, from the public spaces, whether it's Central Park or Brooklyn Bridge Park or Prospect Park, to the High Line, to the waterways, all of them transformed by the coffers, by the tax base of the people that came back because Giuliani set the mold and made the city safe again. And murders went down from approximately 3,000 murders per year down to under 300, which is a staggering tenfold improvement, and saved, you do the math, 2,700 lives per year over, say, 25 years minimum. So multiply your 2,700, your 27 years times the 100 people per year that did not get slaughtered, mainly, by the way, black and brown people in emerging neighborhoods. So, and I don't have any doubt that the people who did come back to the city and begin to transform marginal or emerging neighborhoods say, Brooklyn is a good example, Bed-Stuy if you wish, but also whether it's Hell's Kitchen or Lower East Side or Chinatown. All of those places became upscale, more upscale anyway. Even in tenement housing stock, they became much more safe and livable. So, I mean, that transformation is real, and it comes out of people who are able to be safe in their neighborhoods, particularly, I'm going to say, women, because they're more vulnerable, and kids, and older people. So, I support the transformation of cities into safer places. About hate crimes against white folks, well, I guess there's some now and then, and they'll prosecute them. No offense, Holly, but I don't really see them as a big thing. I don't see it. It's just crime, period, that's a problem. It's not just
all crime is hate crime. It's only the liberal Democrats that started calling it hate crime to give a special label for white people. The whole thing is ridiculous. When you murder somebody, when you violently attack somebody, that is a fucking hate crime. It doesn't matter what the fuck your race is.
So, I don't think a hate crime is a real offense in America. It's when they punish you for an actual crime. If it was a hate crime, you might get a more severe punishment. That's literally all it means. And I don't know what you're criticizing, Holly. If these people were found guilty of crimes and they were sent to prison for quote unquote hate crimes, what do you want the system to do more than that? White people can declare hate crimes, and black people can be found guilty of whatever the hell you're claiming. I don't know what you want more to happen if people were put in prison for this.
Again, to correct a couple of things. One, the people that actually stayed in New York with the Italian Mafia for 57 years, the guys you just mentioned here, some of them can't agree with that. Cannot agree with that. I learned actually in New York City history. The Mafia made it sick. They just did that with the Mafia was in prison. Second thing, the CIA told you and has documents that you can search up. They did give a bunch of guns and drugs to derelict low income in minority areas. They 100% did. You can look it up. You can literally go on the website and go find it. So I don't know what that is. Third thing, hate crimes are a different crime compared to regular. It is against a protected or marginalized people in America that have one or another status. Let's say someone came from a war-torn area for some goddamn reason in the world. You attack that person, that is a hate crime because that is the refugee in America. That is a hate crime. So I don't know where you're getting it's the same offense. Clearly, according to the actual law, it is not the same.
States that have hate crime laws, and there are other states that use hate crime as an enhancement, which I think is what y'all was getting at. So if one committed a heinous act and also was yelling the racial epithet while they did it, then it would bump the crime, the penalty way up. And I challenge you, you will not find one single case of somebody from the government bringing guns or drugs into any community in America. It's a complete urban myth. I know the Freeway Ricky Ross had some plug. It was also a CIA or FBI informant. That means he was a criminal. That doesn't mean he was with the government. And I know that, what's his name, Gary Webb, I was following this in real time. He wrote some articles for the San Jose Mercury news, but those series of 3 articles were completely debunked by superior journalistic outfits. So nobody sold any crack in the Ghetto. That's not. I mean, and by the way, the Black Congressional Caucus of Black communities were loudly demonstrating for drug laws. These weren't something that were imposed by right wingers. They were in response to communities that were being destroyed by these drugs.
Normal, they had to, I'll keep this quick and pass it to Holly. They had to do it because they had to fund the whatever they're doing with the Nicaraguan government
I mean, Iran-Contra, yeah, that never touched the United States, though. They never brought any good drugs to the
They
US.
had to ensure that they could raise funds for the opposition government they were trying to battle the socialists with. So that's why they dropped off the crack, to make sure that, okay, now there's a customer base. These people can get funding for the government we want to oppose, in Nicaragua. So that's very clearly happened.
Yeah, there's no case of the government bringing drugs into this country.
El Normo, you're never gonna win with these people. They totally believe white people are responsible for everything.
You go look and see if you can find a single piece of documentation. You can. I just mentioned two very sort of far-fetched sources on the matter, both of which have been debunked. And yes, there was a thing called Iran-Contra. Oliver North went to prison for it. It was under Ronald Reagan, but it had to do with Iran, and Nicaragua did not. The U.S. was not part of that. And yes, the U.S. was backing the anti-communist forces in Nicaragua, which were defeated democratically subsequently and have remained defeated. And the U.S. has an interest in not allowing our enemies like Soviet Union and now Russia to gain a foothold in our neighborhood. That's the right thing to do, is to oppose the incursion of Soviet Union or China or Russia.
Listen, going back to hate crime, you got to realize that it is a double standard and hypocritical. When a black person kills a white person and calls out a white bitch and isn't charged on a hate crime, we have a judicial problem where real crime, real murder does not result in capital punishment. There would be no hate crime if you were murdered for committing murder in this country, but we do not have that anymore. We have woke, liberal, Democrat, communist, Marxist judges releasing murderers back into society to specifically target white people. So white people, if you think you're not the fucking target, go get on a public train sometime and find out how quickly you are the target.
We have any evidence for this absurd conspiracy theory of the government releasing people who are going to target white people and murder them? Because that's fucking delusional.
No, Jarl, you're fucking delusional. I live in Chicago. I'm telling you what I see, what I read, what I hear, what's in the news. It's everywhere, Jarl. We live in an epidemic of Democrat clowns who are now our judges. We need to do what they did in El Salvador with what's-his-face, who took the whole fucking country over and got rid of every fucking judge who was releasing every murderous criminal gang member back into society to continue to kill society. Jarl, you're the brain rot, and you got here with brain rot. There's no fixing you. You have brain rot, Jarl.
Chill out, dude. America has the most prisoners per capita in the world. Okay, so I don't know why you want to put more people in prison. That's the first thing. The second.
No, we're not putting them in prison. We're sending them to the afterlife, Jarl. We're sending them straight to heaven. There's no more release. There's no more capture. You're going straight to heaven, Jarl.
And the other thing I was going to mention is if you listen to Holly's story, right, people were charged with hate crimes against white people. People are constantly being charged with hate crimes against white people. So you're just making shit up, right? You can be charged with hate crimes against white people, and it does happen. In fact, I shared a statistic that shows that 10.3% of hate crimes in America are against white people. So what do you guys want the society, what do you guys want
We want to stop spreading the conspiracy theory that white replacement isn't real, Jarl. Listen, Jarl, you cannot lead anything. You're a moosehead.
It's not real. You're delusional if you believe in white replacement.
Jarl, you're delusional if you come on this app 80 hours a week and talk about white replacement theory.
Why are your leaders white old men, you idiot? Why are your leaders?
Because Bernie Sanders is a fucking liar. Bernie Sanders has gotten $30 million in big pharma money. Bernie Sanders has gotten hundreds of millions of dollars from every major industry in the whole fucking planet. And that's why Bernie Sanders gave it to Hillary Clinton, because he's a fucking liar. And he's a fucking schmuck. And so are you, Jarl.
Your current leader, first of all, that man woke fucking slave history museums, is constantly banning this shit. You live in a society that believes what you believe, that believes white replacement theory is destroying Europe. So you're actually delusional for pretending like it's the other way around. You motherfuckers control this society. If there's any other way,
you motherfuckers You're delusional, Jarl. You're talking to a fucking random person on a social audio chat app. You're projecting. You're delusional.
Can I please get in? Okay. Jar, again, just listen with your ears. I said the kids in Manhattan who were let's be Hispanic from them. They were charged with hate crime. That happened very quick. Oh, I hope I don't lose y'all. The white boy that was just stabbed here, I have seen nothing, no mention of hate crime in anything thus far. You're right. It could come out with a hate crime. But so far they haven't. My point is, it seems to me they're very quick to jump on the hate crime with many other groups, but not white people. Look at the girl on the train or the bus in Charlotte.
And the white girl in Chicago who just got lit on fire by a black guy who was released 30 times.
Okay, it took the not the AG, or yeah, our federal AG, right? Am I saying that's what she is? It took her claiming this is a hate crime, federal hate crime. I don't believe the local authorities were saying that yet. Okay, I'm just saying, Charlie, you can have this bias, whatever you can think of me. I'm saying it is dangerous when you are not treating various groups equally, because what if, Jarl, I'm not talking about white replacement theory, what if we actually do have a serious issue with black Americans who are harming white people who they don't know purely because they're white? What if there's a trend that's occurring? Maybe there's not. Maybe there's
What if? What if?
Don't treat the group the same. How will I ever fucking know, Jarl?
It's called reading the news, Holly. It's called not talking all the time. It's called looking at the information on the internet. It's everywhere. Have you heard of X platform?
If you and your wife and your children lived in a country where you believed that you were not getting the full story, and you didn't know that whether you were whether your lives were being threatened or not, don't you think that that's concerning? If your wife was the one who has 50% of her body burned right now to be in a hospital by a random black individual. Now, who knows if it was race-related or not? I don't know. But don't you think if that was your wife, you might be a little disturbed that the media is not saying what the photo shows? I just come on, work with me here, Charles.
Jarl can't work with you. He'll never get married because no woman can ever respect a man who's willing to die at the hands of a murderer.
Knowledge you don't have like actual numbers and it's just an impression, and you're allowed to feel that way. And certainly you're allowed to be concerned. I just don't think it's happening. I don't think it's real. Yeah.
Jarl, that's because you're delusional and you don't live in reality. You live in a Canadian snow bubble.
And I'm not saying you did this humbly, but if you listen to people like Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, or any of those people, right? For years they were saying, "Oh, white people or black people need to stop complaining and playing victims, and they're always crying about this and that." And that was the narrative from like 2015 to like 2022. And then for the last 2-3 years, it's white people who have turned and have become these perpetual victims who are always, everything's bad to them. And I just find like, where is this this attitude of like pick yourself up by the bootstraps and stop complaining about being victims constantly and just fucking go out there and be a man? Like, conservatives are the ones who taught me that black people are victims that complain all the time and should shut up. But now they're the ones who are crying constantly about white replacement theory and saying, "Oh, Europe is falling because of immigrants or whatever."
Because of the Muslim invasion, Jarl.
My kid is not white, okay? So am I a bad person now? Should I feel like I'm replacing people? Like, do I?
No.
You're delusional, Jarl. You're projecting. You're saying all kinds of nonsense. We're talking about violent crime here, Jarl, not your black wife and your biracial child. Nobody cares about your situation, Jarl. We're caring about getting murdered by fucking recidivists who've been released 30 times, and then they get on a train and they light you on fire and they punch you in the face in the street. Jarl, you're not following the news. You're living in a clown house bubble.
Yeah, Jarl, I don't think they should ignore the data either. I like data. Data's important. But if we're not being given the full data, that's what concerns me. I don't think that anyone should shut up about, any Black person should shut up if they see that there's a trend of police brutality, if they see that there's a trend that they're getting pulled over at higher rates for random I don't think any of that, I'm not saying that there aren't people that, you're complaining. I'm not. I'm one person telling you that I don't believe that I'm being fed the full truth. When I see so many stories, John, I could sit here and go over so many with you. I'm not driving, but I'm telling you, American, I'm telling you, I see it over and over. White kids being beaten to shit and no hate crime mentioned, okay? Maybe it happens later, but they don't do it quickly like they do with and I wonder, it makes me think, and I've said this so many times, and this is the last I'll say it, how many times does this happen?
Oh my God, it's political, Holly. Obviously, it's all political. It's all political.
Like with the way things are going now, we're gonna have a correction in a year or two, right? So right now, everything is a hate crime against white people, and they're constantly being persecuted.
A correction? What is this? The hate crime stock market, Joe? No, this isn't the stock market, Joe. There's gonna be no correction, you schmuck. This is called a mind virus, and losers like you are infected with the mind virus.
Okay, all I was saying is in a few years, you're gonna have white people feeling bad because they were overstating this shit. And like my point is, like, can we stop focusing on one?
White people are gonna feel bad because they're focusing on their safety and security?
Holy shit, it's so you can interrupt me, but I don't know why you're interrupting Holly, bro.
Well, I don't understand why people at 11:38 a.m. CST are sitting here talking about white replacement theory, whether or not you're safe in society from Black people who light you on fire in trains, do mass murders. I don't know, Jarl. Maybe you should pull it all up. It's all fucking there, Jarl. You just don't read it and you don't care. You come on here and spouse your fucking political bullshit, Jarl. That's all you're doing. You're wasting your time. You're wasting our time. This is a whole fucking waste of time. But Sig, I gotta tell you, I don't know how you have managed to do this for 24 hours. You've been up for 24 hours listening to clown house people like Jarl say the dumbest shit, and it's a total waste of time. So big shout out to Sig. I have let my YouTube live stream go for 24 hours, and we got thousands of views last night, Sig. You're huge in China and India. They love your content, Sig. But Jarl, the feedback on what you're saying is that you're a schmuck.
I just want to say, Sig, Holly, no, I disagree with you guys, but you made good points. No, that's very rare. But you made no good points. Thanks, guys.
Bye, Jarl. I mean, look at Queef. I didn't think about what that was until I said it out loud. Queef in the chat. Can we normalize bullying white people? I mean, yeah, I know that's probably, maybe you're joking, but that's the sentiment, isn't it? That's what it's giving. That's what it's giving. It's giving punish white people. It's their time to be harmed and to be, we need to oppress them.
They call it punch a Nazi in the face because every white person is apparently a Nazi to these races. We live in the biggest hypocritical, fascist, crazy, liberal, whack job society ever invented, ever created. The entire BLM mind virus, the entire LGBT plus mind virus, trans mind virus, these things are all moral degradation and societal collapse. It is the destruction of the family and the destruction of identity. That's the goal of it. People like Jarl are completely fucked in the brain because they believe this woke bullshit. Same with Bima and many others.
Well, I think it's the case of the train situation, just, how I was talking about that. We're talking about, how...
Jarl took it!
If you want to consider something a hate crime, I think we should agree that there has to be some intent, or there has to be something that there's verifiable, right? It can't just be a crime. This guy, he was, calling welfare checks on himself just a few weeks earlier, saying that that someone implanted something inside his body and was controlling his brain. Okay, he got up and he unfortunately and horribly murdered this woman, but there's no indication of a hate crime.
There's no hate. He has no hate in his heart when you murder somebody. Oh, there's no. Are you listening to the words coming out of your mouth?
Well, murder. Hold on. Is every murder a hate crime?
Yes, absolutely. You have to have hate in your heart, and you are devoid of love and any intelligence when you murder somebody. Are we that far fucking gone that when you murder somebody, it's not done out of fucking hate and anger, Bima? Have you ever murdered somebody? No, you haven't. So you probably can't visualize the perspective of a fucking murderer. But when a piece of shit murders somebody, they got fucking hate and vitriol in their system, Bima. Now you see it?
Right. Well, we're just talking about definitions. I'm talking about.
No, you're talking about politics, because when you give the terminology hate crime, that is a political designation by a political entity trying to slander and literally fuck somebody's life up for a specific. It's bullshit politics, Bima. Hate is hate. Crime is crime. You must be punished for it, and we don't punish our criminals. We release them back into society as recidivists to continue killing white people at scale in this country.
Okay, do you know how a hate crime in the United States is defined?
Do you know I don't give a fuck how it's defined? Because all crime is hate and it's political? It won't work on me, Bima. Your hypnosis mind virus is fucking stupid. It doesn't work anymore. Your politics have been defeated. Donald Trump is the president. Pam Bondi, who knows what the fuck she's doing, and fucking Dan Bongino's stepping down. The whole thing is, everybody got away with everything. Nobody's getting arrested for nothing, Bima. And this bullshit will continue because of these Democrat judges and their positions of power in society.
I understand why you're running from my questions. It makes sense because you'll soon realize that you have no point. And it's not rational or logical to take the position that you're having right now. So, I mean, let's just talk about electrolytes and water. Did you have electrolytes and water yet today? Because it really sounds like you need.
See, that's actually a much better question than talking about whether or not a hate crime is still hate.
You're not being genuine. You're not having a discussion. You're just, I don't know, what's going on with you today?
Oh, I'm sick of it. Listen, the only reason I'm coming out this way is because I'm in a safe space. This is called Sig's Masculinity Mansion, where men can actually say what's on their minds. But Jarl's not a man. Jarl is a weak, effeminate man. And Bima, you are a brainwashed communist, socialist, Marxist, liberal clown. You have no concept of economics. You have no concept of law. You have no concept of, I mean, maybe you have some concept of the spirit, but I am telling you, you would be a horribly ineffective sheriff if you were tasked with protecting your people from violent criminals. They'd be fucked, Bima. You would not be able to provide the security needed to keep your people safe. And Jarl's first response when asked if he was the leader of his people, what would he do? He would say he would crush the conspiracy theory of white replacement. That's what's on top of mind for fucking Jarl. You understand, people? This is called priority of intelligence. Jarl has no intelligence, which is a priority, and neither does Bima, because they don't keep you safe. They could give two shits if you died. They'd say that's part of the white structural racist system. These left, liberal, woke leftists are so fucking brainwashed, and they will just go straight back to their primary hypnosis programming. Watch, I will demonstrate for you. Go ahead, Bima, please speak. Or Jarl, please speak. Tell us about your primary programming hypnosis for your priority of intelligence of communication. Let's hear what you have to say.
This definitely doesn't seem like our show. This sounds like a bunch of clearly false socialist, communist, liberal. I'm none of those things, right? This is you. I don't know. It sounds like you just got to get something off. Maybe you need to masturbate, or I really definitely think we should take some water. Hey, can we read some of your Art of War right now? I mean, there's something else that we got to do here because you really sound built up, and I don't know how much more of this your own body could take. Definitely sounds like you need a run out or get some water. Look, I'm drinking some water. It's delicious. We're still good. Do you want to do a little break, a little humming break? Can we do that? Can we do a little meditation, breathe meditation?
Think you shook her up
point out that you will note I don't come on here and make death threats like some other psychopathic people on this app, or people who do homicidal ideation projection, or even suicidal ideation projection on this app. I am telling you what is actually happening in society. I am telling you that at scale in major liberal woke protectorate cities like Seattle, Los Angeles, New York City, Chicago, other places around this country, these sanctuary cities where we have millions of illegal alien, destitute, homeless people sucking up taxpayer resources, murdering our people. We are a completely woke and cucked society. We need to look at, El Salvador is technically a CIA experiment, a sandbox, where Bukele has taken over the whole country, dethroned every liberal left wokest judge protecting the criminal gangs that ran that country. And now they have a super prison facilities full of prisoners with tattoos all over their faces, nut to butt, by the tens of thousands. It's time that, and we are doing that in this country. We are, Trump and the Border Patrol and Department of Homeland Security, ICE, they are forming a mass. And over the next couple of years, all the media is going to be fixated on this, and it will never stop, because the American people are finally pushing back against the invasion. And these left, liberal, woke Democrat mayors and governors who have allowed these invaders to come into your cities to murder you, to suck your money out of your property taxes and everywhere else they can tax you, the American people are fighting back. And people like Jarl and Bima who want to waste your effing time, it's just a waste of your effing time to listen to this political dribble. Go read a fucking book. I mean, I'm encouraging myself to get the fuck off the app, to go to the gym and read a book. Fatties. I am.
To not make any actual points, but just to very briefly debunk everything you just rambled on about. Out of the 10 states that bring in the most revenue per capita, I believe 8 or 9 of them are blue states. Out of the 10 states that receive the most federal funding, I believe 8 or 9 of them are red states. If we look at crimes per capita, it's a very similar picture. The very big majority of crimes are committed in red states. So really, the blue states the blue states are the ones are subsidizing the red states' existence, and the red states are like a huge crush on the blue states' hell. I can share the actual statistics if you'd like to see them. So your whole argument about, I don't know, the blue states trying to tax you or whatever, no, it's, well, sure, but red states rely and need that tax money. They're the ones who receive it from the blue states. So really, you should be thanking the blue states.
Well, all I gotta say is go to the gym, read a great book, and your political opinions suck. Hey, Adrian, cool PTR, dude.
If you want to know, it's New York, California are the top 2 states that earn money. They're blue. Then you have Connecticut, Hawaii, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Oregon. The blue states earn a lot more tax dollars than red states, and red states receive a lot more tax money than blue states. You can look it up yourself, Al.
Cool. Did you know that clouds are white, and past the white clouds it's blue, and then you get to outer space and there's the sun and there's Venus and there's Mercury, and past us there's Mars? I don't know. Do you ever think about astrology, Jarl?
Do you ever think about making sense, kiddo?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Oh, I was just kind of doing what you just did there, just randomly talk about fucking whatever.
So blue states, and we're very specifically talking about, taxes and how blue states want to tax you. If you want to talk about taxes and the color of states.
Listen, Jarl, this is called the United States of America, Jarl. It's called the United States of America. No one gives a fuck about your red flag, blue flag game. It's called United. And this federal government is going to whack these fucking Democrat cities and turn them completely over, invade them, and mass deport the millions of illegal invaders welcomed in by NGOs, the Biden administration, and let them pour in by the millions. This is now a national civil fight against an invasion, Jarl. It's never going to stop. The head of Border Patrol is in Chicago right now with an M16A4 walking the streets. If anybody takes a shot at him, he will mow them down with an M16A4 on fucking full auto. This is a fight to the death, Jarl. Americans will not allow their nation to be invaded in the same way that Europe's been invaded. This is a fight, Jarl. And you can call it racist all you want. But if you don't have a fucking social security number and you're here illegally and you're violating our laws, the American judicial system and these patriots and warriors will fucking ice you and send you back home in a fucking body bag.
Immigrants commit less crimes on average than non-immigrants. Illegal immigrants commit less crimes on average than citizens. And second-generation immigrants earn more money and pay more taxes on average than naturalized citizens. All three of those are accurate numbers.
Very cool numbers, bro. Let's now talk about the murder numbers that illegal aliens commit across the whole spectrum and every. Oh, go ahead, Adrian. Sorry, brother. I know there's no sense here. This is me roasting people and trying to get people very emotionally upset. In Chicago, all Mayor Brandon Johnson does is promote his fake crime numbers. Crime is way up. And we're talking about horrific crime. Mass shootings at scale every single weekend for fucking years. Chicago should have deployed the National Guard 20 fucking years ago, but Pritzker never does it. No governor will ever do it in these crime-ridden areas. They'll never deploy more patrols, and they will never cut down on the gang violence. We live in a gang-ridden society, and it is the way it is. But the mental health and the homeless population that commits crimes on the trains is insane that we allow that to persist. The police are so lazy, and the governor or the mayor doesn't do it. They need to deploy undercover cops, remove the most violent homeless criminals, drug addicts that are out there committing these heinous, murderous acts, and specifically targeting white people.
American citizens, and if we want to be more specific, white male American citizens are by far the most likely to do mass shootings.